Hello, everyone. My name is Ian Joshua Nicol-Macdonald. I hope you're all doing well during this crazy COVID-19 pandemic. Today, I'm going to be presenting my assignment number 5 on COVID-19. So, COVID-19, basically, we all know what COVID-19 is, I think, at this point. But a quick recap. So, it's a new virus that has never been previously exhibited within another human being before. So no one around the world really knows how to treat it. There's no known vaccine. It's highly contagious, easily spreadable, which is why we're all doing the self-isolation, the isolation away from everybody else, social distancing, all that stuff. There is a 14-day incubation period, which makes it difficult to assess how whether you're shedding that virus or not, if you're contagious to other people or not, which is why we have such a long period where we have to be self-isolated away from other people. As of April 12th at 7 p.m. when I got this data, there were 1,849,565 cases of COVID-19, confirmed cases of COVID-19 around the world. And with those, there was 114,055 deaths resulting from COVID-19, or that could be attributed from COVID-19. At the same time, Canada has recorded, as you can see on the PowerPoint, 24,292 confirmed cases of COVID-19, and with 713 deaths resulting from the virus. So, given all the previous information that I just highlighted, let's focus in a little bit closer onto what my presentation is going to be on, or what my data analysis is going to be on. So, I want to discover whether or not the Canadian government can be doing anything more to help prevent and mitigate the damage caused by COVID-19. And so that's the question that we're going to be taking a look at. And the data analysis approach that I'm going to take to do that is the same approach that a lot of you are going to be very familiar with after our year within this course. So we're going to acquire the data, which was provided by the professor. I'm going to do exploratory data analysis, as well as cleaning the data to make sure that it is optimized and ready for to provide good key insights. I'm going to complete a data analysis using both Tableau as well as Microsoft Excel to generate those key insights. And I'm going to discuss those data analysis and those key, the results and the key insights that I've gained from that. And from those, I'm going to make recommendations on what the Canadian government should do right now to improve, maintain, whatever we determine. So what is my initial stance on COVID-19? My stance is a little bit of a harsh one. I believe that the Canadian government has acted slowly. They had a large lead time from when the outbreak actually happened in China, and I believe that they should have taken it more seriously. I know that hindsight is 20/20, but it is the government's job to have foresight and to have people in China and to understand the severity of the situation. So I think they should have acted more quickly. I believe that the federal and provincial governments are not aligned on their messaging, leaving it so that there is room for Canadian citizens to constantly try to find loopholes to how they can legally see their friends and not social distance and things like that. And I think there needs to be a firm, strong message from all sorts of governments, one unified message. And I think medical assistance was too little too late. I know we haven't hit the spike yet, but the fact that they're trying to still procure more medical equipment and it wasn't already prepared isn't heartening. It's a bad sign. And I think that on that same token, I think that the Canadian government initiated social distancing or physical distancing too little too late as well. So with my harsh criticisms in mind, my hypothesis is that the current measures imposed by the Canadian government are not effective, and significant change is required to ensure that the safety and the health of the Canadian citizens, and to ensure that the curve does flatten. So after the data analysis was complete, or once I started the data analysis, the first thing I noticed was that the confirmed cases in Canada are still rising. So as you can see on the graph on the PowerPoint, all the way up until yesterday, we're still seeing big jumps and big levels of growth. Social distancing and more strict measures, such as the closure of non-essential businesses and things of that nature, happened mid to mid-late March. And 2 weeks have passed since then. We should be seeing a slowing down of growth. But as you can see to the graph to the left, we're not. And I think this is a firm example that more has to be done. So next, I looked closer into the United States' figures. And so what I saw was that both the United States and Canada are both on an upward trajectory, as you can see on the graph on the screen. Interestingly, both of these countries, Canada and the United States was ranked #1 in pandemic preparedness, and Canada was ranked within the top 5. But both have struggled with COVID-19 much more so than countries like China, that have seemingly had a small spike, but then a decrease. We're still seeing constant growth, and this shows that being prepared on its own without action, without solid action, isn't enough. And so this is another example that the Canadian government needs to do more, because although we have the tools right now, we're ready, we're prepared, not enough is being done to implement those tools. And that needs to be done in the future, now, really. Finally, the last argument that the data analysis revealed was one between the United States and China. So as we saw in the previous slide, the United States growth trajectory in terms of cases of COVID-19 is continuing to rise, similar to that of Canada. So I thought it was a good idea to take a look at how China, a country that had very strict measures right away, kind of a no questions asked mentality to put a stop to the spread of the virus, and compare that to a culture that is really hesitant to go on lockdown and really hesitant to adhere to a lot of the government's suggestions. And although they're not suggestions, they're very much laws and demands, if you will. People are taking them as suggestions. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to take a look at these two. As you can see, I guess you could, for argument's sake, you could call the orange line Western culture, or the United States is continuing to rise. We're seeing record amounts of people becoming sick within the United States and Canada, on a growth upwards that is, who knows where the peak is. Whereas if you compare that to China, the epicenter of the virus, we see that there was one point where it peaked, but it was under control quite quickly. And this has to be attributed to the creation of hospitals, bolstering their healthcare system, ensuring that people are adhering to lockdown procedures, sometimes in a very violent way, but an effective way. And I think that needs to be acknowledged. And those lessons need to be taken from China and implemented within the Canadian government strategy. And that's going to lead us to the results here. So as you can see, the results of my data analysis led to these following conclusions. The amount of COVID-19 cases are rising in Canada, and we aren't at the peak yet. It's growing at quite a steady rate too. So I'm not even sure when the peak will be. One reason that more measures have to occur, or else we could see this peak rise and rise and rise. The USA has implemented similar measures, and as you can see, they now have the most COVID-19 cases and deaths in the world. So it's clear that a lackadaisical, suggestive approach isn't good enough. And China's strict approach to fighting COVID-19 was successful. Now, I should put an asterisk there. We can only assume that the Chinese government is giving us accurate information. There are some conspiracy theories that they aren't giving true, accurate information, and that it was much worse there, which would make sense as it's the epicenter of the pandemic. But for this data analysis and this report, I'm taking their word for it at face value. So my recommendations of what the Canadian government should do now: we need to improve lockdowns. Stay-at-home measures need to be in place for much more individuals, or many more individuals than are right now. And these lockdown measures need to be enforced. There need to be strict penalties for people that are breaking these conditions, breaking these social distancing rules, breaking the idea of even leaving your house for a non-essential a reason. You know, $880, that's a big fine. That was one that I just heard today momentarily, or a minute ago, but more needs to be done. And finally, I think a national state of emergency needs to be implemented to unify the federal and the provincial government's voice on this. And so with that, that's the end of my presentation. I really hope everybody out there is staying healthy, staying safe, and you know, it's a crazy time right now, but you know, if we keep doing our thing, keep staying inside, you know, doing work on the computer, you know, watching way too much Netflix, all that kind of stuff, we're gonna get through this, and we're gonna flatten that curve. So you guys keep doing what you're doing, and I hope you have a great rest of the semester, and take care.